So today we wanted to cover reports. We advertise this as the reports webinar, and what we mean by that is not only showing you guys which buttons to click or how to build the filters, but it's important that everybody understands which reports show you what information, right? It's very important that you're running the right report to get the information you need. So that's kind of our end goal here today. From the home screen, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to click on the Reports button. This is going to bring you to the Report Manager, and here you have all the different categories of reports that we offer. And we're just going to get started with some of the basic ones. We're going to go into the Inventory section. Inventory reports generally deal with current totals and not necessarily shipping and receiving or anything like that. So this is your current total inventory. And we're going to run the Inventory Summary Report 8.3. This is the most up-to-date one and probably the best formatted one. So for all the reports that you have available in Oil Country OS, you have the ability to build a filter. You can run the report without any filters, and that's going to return you essentially a summary of everything, all the inventory in your system. But if you're looking for a particular type of inventory or a particular customer's inventory, you can use the Build Filter button at the top. And here you have all your filters that you can apply to this and pretty much any report in the system. It all looks the same. So let's go ahead and put in some restrictions on the Inventory Summary Report. I'm going to do a company. We only want to look at Archon Data's inventory in this summary report. And I'm going to leave the rest of it blank just to show you an example of the inventory summary. And then I'm just going to click Run Report. All right. All right, so we can see here that this report is organized by part number. You can see that it's in blocks according to the master part number, and you have a description of those individual parts, the pipe properties, and their location, should they have a rack. And on the right-hand side, you have your total joints. You can see the most relevant information here is the ones highlighted in teal. You got your total footage and total joints. And looks like this is all the pipe we have in for this particular customer. You have some 2 3/8 pin protectors and some 4 1/2. And this obviously shows you not only pipe, but any inventory you have assigned to this, to this company. We can obviously filter with part numbers if you're looking for a particular type of inventory. You can filter the rest of this out using the build filter. So that's probably the most basic report we have, is just the inventory summary. Again, summarizes all the inventory you have according to the filters you built. So I'm going to close this out. And we're going to go back. If you click the home button, it'll take you back to the report manager. Another very cool report that we have in the inventory section is the inventory as of. This is essentially a summary report of your totals backdated, right? So if you're trying to look at what you had as of last month and exclude everything that you got in the current month, then you can use this. And we're just going to build a filter. And we're going to say inventory as of, and we're going to put the end of the year. And we're going to run the report. Again, with a report like this, it's going to take a while since it's a pretty big list of returns. Here we go. So we have everything that was in our system at the end of last year, December the 31st. You can see it's organized by company name, location, and you can use these buttons at the top to sort through how you want to look at it. So I'm going to look at it by company name, and we can see that the joints and the footage totals are on the very right-hand side, as well as all the relevant information of the part number and the date of those jobs when they were created, etc. And you can even track the jobs themselves. So if excuse me, I was reading something. So yeah, if you're looking for a particular job, you can use this report to see when it was created, the totals on it, and on the specifications for that job, including the status. It's a very powerful tool. But let's go ahead and move on from the inventory and look at some of the shipping and receiving ones. Well, first off, does anybody have any questions on the inventory reports and how you use the build filters? We'll get a little bit more in depth into it when we get to some of the more advanced reports, but if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Inventory as of. Oh, okay. That's so. What the question is? What date filter works best for the inventory as of report? So let's go ahead and select it and build filter. And the date that's probably the best is the as of date. In the update for scheduled at the end of this month, we're actually combining these two date boxes. So you're only going to see one, and you'll have all your options there, so you won't have to worry about any of this. But as of is the date that I would recommend that you run for the inventory as of report. So it's kind of intuitive in that sense, but yeah, as of date, and then you can just select whichever what the cutoff date is for what you're looking for. And most of the time it's going to be for in months or quarters or something like that. So I would recommend the as of date range for the as of report. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to the report manager. And we're going to look at the next, probably the next simplest report. We're going to look at shipping and receiving category. Basically, in-outs, right? What came in, what came out. This is based on transactions, right? So this not only includes, trucks that you ship out, trucks that you receive in, but transfers between locations are also going to show up on your in-outs. So basically, if it was received or shipped and that status occurred in your inventory, this is where you're going to go and look it up. So let's select the in-out report, and we're going to build a filter. So let's say you're trying to look at the trucks that came in for last month. So let's select last month as the date type, and we're going to set the status as received. If you do not select a status, it's going to show you both ship and receive. But let's say we're only interested in looking at what we received. We're going to run that report. And here we go. You can see it's broken down by location. So this is a very powerful tool to see what came in and out of particular yards. And we can see that this is only the received transactions, and all the dates are from December of 2014. So this is all the stuff that came into our locations from the month of December of 2014. And again, you have your running totals and your total tonnage. Yeah. So let's look at a different way to run the in-out report. We're going to look at it. Oh, clear filter. If you ever, this is a really easy button. If you ever just want to start over, clear filter resets everything. It's a great little shortcut. So let's look at by location. Let's look at, we're only looking at my main yard, right? And we want to see all the in-outs for this main yard in our system today. And we're going to set the date range again for last month. We're going to run the report. Oh, looks like we did not have any in-outs last month. Okay. Alright, let's try Oklahoma. I don't think we had any in-outs on that one. So let's try, there we go, last month in Oklahoma yard. There we go. So we have our location and everything that came in or out, both shipped and received for the month of December 2014. And the format again is you have your rack, quantities, your totals, and your running totals. And on the footer, you have a total count of everything, of all the transactions. So it counts up your pluses and your minuses for every transaction, and it gives you a total down at the bottom. So any questions on the InOut report so far? Again, it's important to note that this isn't necessarily an inventory report. This is a transaction report. So if you have transfers between locations, it's still going to show as received, right? It's still going to show you that something was received to the yard, even though you didn't necessarily ship it. You just transferred it. And again, you have the job. So if you're doing investigations into where a particular piece of inventory went, you can run this type of report and look for the job, and that's a great way to track it down. That's how a lot of us do it here. Okay. Oh, and just to reiterate the point, you can use the arrows at the top of the headers to reorganize. Okay, shoot, Jonathan. What's your question? Jonathan, you're unmuted if you'd rather just ask me. Ah, okay. No problem. Okay, I'll just stay on after we're finished, and I'll talk to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. All right. So we're going to go back to our shipping and receiving, and that was the regular InOut report. Another great tool is the InOut by sales order and purchase order. Let's go ahead and build a filter. Not only can you filter for the date range and the location, but you can also filter for specific PO numbers. Excuse me. In this case, we're just going to give it a location filter. And we want to see, essentially, all the in-outs for that location and what POs they're attached to, or what sales orders they're attached to. And again, we're going to give it a last month filter. If you don't put a date range filter, it's going to give you a huge report. It's going to give you everything that's been done since you started. So, all right. So we have the order number on the left-hand side, the total balance for that order number, and the same information as the InOut report. You see all the ships and receives. It's essentially the same report. It just adds a couple columns for you and allows you to break everything down a little bit more specifically. Let's run the PO order one. All right, let's look at Oklahoma last month. Awesome. Looks like we didn't have any sales orders attached to any of our inventory. Okay, no problem. But you see the structure of the report. All right. So those are the InOut reports. Let's select the report. Yeah, okay. So let's go back and let's move on to inventory history. This section has okay, so the inventory history is the transactions done to, for example, jobs or part numbers or control numbers, even racks. Again, this is transaction-based, so it doesn't necessarily reflect running totals, but it's very, very good. These are very, very good tools to see where pieces of inventory went from an original job. So if I decide to run the job transaction history, I have a pre-selected job here, so I'm going to actually sort or filter for this particular job, and we're going to see everything that's ever basically happened to this job. So let's just run it with that. Okay, here we go. Here you have every transaction that's ever happened to this particular job in your inventory system. It has everything from transfers to reducing via import, insert joints, and transfer location out, transfer location in. So any movement that this job does, you can find in the job history reports. It even has locations and insert joints. This is for tallies. So anytime it's tallied, you can see that here. So you have your locations for it. You have your AFEs, any comments, and this is where comments really come in handy. It gives you a reasoning for these transactions. So a good practice is to comment things like transfers or adjustments to jobs, and they'll populate here on this report. And then you can see the running footage and the running joint count. So your running total for this job, and this is really, really good for kind of auditing particular jobs. Let's see what happens if we do last 7 days. Or you know what? We're actually going to do a location. Let's look at the Oklahoma yard and last month, and it's going to break it down. It's going to break down all the transactions for basically every job in the Oklahoma yard that happened last month, essentially. And here you see it's really cool. It breaks it down by individual job. You have the part number and its location, and the transactions for that job. And this makes it pretty easily readable, right? You can. It's a great little summary of activity in your yard. And you can see down here it's a very large report since I gave it a whole month, and it's logging every transaction for every job. So we're not going to go through the whole 381 pages, but you can see that it's very detailed, very powerful. Any questions on this one? What is the sum of 1414? That would be 28. Okay. All right, so let's go back and select another report. Again, these are history reports, so you can see if you have a part number that you're interested in. Let's say you're dealing with some where is it? Part number. Let's say we're dealing with some 2 3/8. I think that's tubing. We can run that report. It's going to give you all the transactions for 2 3/8 tubing. So you can use these history reports to get pretty detailed. You have a reason for the transactions here. You have a beginning balance, shipped, and a transfer. You'll also have like receives and stuff like that. And again, you can track down individual jobs and their locations. And on the right, you have your totals and your running quantities. So these are all pretty similar. Again, they just format the data a little bit differently. One thing to note, any of these reports you can obviously print out or email to, export them to Excel. All right. Let's go into some sales and purchasing. These are pretty much identical between the two. They obviously just deal with different orders, one sales and one purchasing. You can look at things like open sales, any sales order we have in the system, and you can see their dollar amount and who created them, as well as the date requires and custom POs. So customer PO numbers, excuse me. So this is a good tool to see where you're, kind of how much money you're projected to make off these sales orders and which ones are still pending. You can also set, I think you can look at closed sales order, so you can look at your previous orders that have been completed. So yeah, completed sales. And for these, you can run filters for dates again. Let's see, is before today. So we're going to run the closed orders report for anything before today. And you can see it's sorted by date and the order number. All right, those are pretty simple. And the purchasing reports are pretty much exactly the same. They're going to present you the same information. Open purchase orders, past purchase orders, orders by company. Now, my favorite reports here are the finance ones, and they're probably the most powerful in the system and can give you a great advantage and insight into how your business works. Yes, Jonathan, everything exports to Excel, and I will show you an example of how they'll do that here with the inventory value report. I'll actually open one up in Excel for you. So let's look at the inventory value report. And I'm actually just going to run it without a filter. So this is a pretty big report. It's going to give you the total value of your current inventory, right? We can see the breakdown by location, by company. You can see all the total dollar amounts for each of these part numbers. It's broken down by part number. Yeah. This is really good to, this is really useful, excuse me, in just kind of evaluating how much you have on racks in your locations at a current time, especially when you're talking about like taxes and things like that. Next, we're going to look at the average cost of inventory. We're going to run that. All right. So again, this is broken down by part number, by company, and by location. and you can see the average cost of everything that you've purchased. This is great because it allows you to average what each part was purchased for, and you can compare that to let's say you purchase something for $38 per foot, or per foot, and the market tanks, and the value of that now is $22. Well, if you look at your average, and the average is 34 or lower, you can still make money off of that inventory that you purchased for 34. So by looking at it individually, you'd say, well, I can't sell that. I'm going to lose money. The market's tanked. I can't sell that. It's I'll lose $10, $12 on the foot. But if you compare it to your average, you can say, well, okay, I'd still be making $6 or $7 on average. So you've taken essential dead inventory, and by analyzing the average cost of all your goods, you can still make money on that inventory. And that's one of the really cool features of these inventory reports. So let's go ahead and save this to Excel so we can show you guys what it looks like. And I actually had a folder. Yeah. So we're going to say this is average cost of inventory. And if I find that, we can see that it prints out essentially the way you see it. So if you guys want to run some calculations here in Excel and take some values from it, you can do that. The basic rule of thumb is the way you're seeing it in Oil Country OS is the exact same way that it's going to export to Excel or anything else. And you can do this for every report in the system and some other parts of the system like Pipe Explorer. You can export pretty much anything with a grid in Oil Country OS can pretty much be exported to Excel, which is pretty cool. So let's close those down. Yeah, so the average cost of inventory pretty much allows you to take dead inventory, compare it to your average, and see whether or not you can still make some money off of it. So let's go ahead and close those out and look at stock forecasting. Jeff would argue that this is probably the most important report in the system. And I'm actually going to run it without any filters. What this does is it takes a total of your inventory and pluses and minuses any any of your outstanding orders, any of your purchase orders and sales orders, and it predicts how much you're going to have based on those totals. Right, so we have the total amount, average cost per unit, and it's going to show you in red if you're going to be below or if you're over. For example, we can see that we're over 10,000 feet for this 4.5 J55. This is a really good tool to see where you need to cut back on purchasing, or where you need to step up on purchasing. So if you have outstanding sales orders and you see that you're not going to make that with your current inventory, you can't fulfill that, well, you know exactly what you need to purchase in that allotted time frame. So you're not having to scramble at the last minute and buy pipe for a hugely inflated cost just because you sold more than you had, right? So you can predict what you're going to need, and you can also predict where you're going to be over. So, you don't want to end up with, 300,000 feet of something you haven't sold and have to pay taxes on it at the end of the year. So this could potentially, here we have a negative here, a negative transaction. And we can even break this down as as a part number. So let's look at this one. So now we're only looking at the 2 3/8 J55. Oh, okay. There we go. We were looking at the wrong report. Here's what I mean by that. We have the order number, the part number, purchase orders, sales orders, and the pluses and minuses. So, and again, you guys can always save this to Excel, PDF, or Word in the exact same format that you guys are looking at it in. Let me open that up in Excel. There you go. And you can see that for something like this 2 3/8 J55, the total balance is we're under 54,000 feet based on our current inventory, our current balance here at the top. All of these sales orders, these purchase orders, we're still going to come up short 55,000 feet. So you can use this information to say, okay, well, we need to purchase, we need to get a hold of some of this pipe before these sales orders, are due. Again, with a part like this 4.5 J55, we can see that we're way over. So we're just sitting on this stuff. We're going to have to pay taxes on it. We're paying for the storage costs. This is the type of information you can glean from this report. Any questions on that one? Cool. So if nobody has any questions, we're going to move on to some of the more nuanced reports, like the custom query. Now, these reports may not always present you the information that you want to see. There may be some specific scenario that requires you to look at some information that the reports don't readily make available to you. So these custom queries allow us to build essential quick reports with very specific information. This is our price list. We can see our stock number, our master parts, excuse me, their description and their unit price. And we can build these on the fly for you guys, and if you guys know Transact SQL, you guys can actually do it yourself. But I know some of you guys do. So if you guys need very, very specific information, so tallies inbound 30 days. Let's look at inventory shortages and run that one. See, you can get some very, very specific information that you don't necessarily need on an everyday basis. And you can do this through the custom query. And if you guys do need help with this or want something, you guys can always email our support team, and we'll be happy to help you. And possibly the simplest and most commonly used report that we have available to you guys is the Pipe Explorer. So with this, you're basically generating reports on your current inventory on the fly. We can generate an InOut report by using the combined search function. So we're going to look at that. We're going to use the Oklahoma yard like we have been. We're going to search for completed items, and we're going to search for all our shipped. As of last month, and we're going to click search. Then we also want to look at our received. Received is open inventory, so it's not completed, and then we're going to look at received and click combine search. And here we go. We essentially have created a InOut report on the fly using the Pipe Explorer. And again, Jonathan, you can use the save to send to Excel. And what's neat about the Pipe Explorer is that you can arrange these columns any way you'd like to see them. And that's how they're going to be exported to Excel. If you don't want to see the condition, you can always turn it off, right? You can turn off pretty much anything you can imagine. So we don't want to see either of those. Let's say we don't want to see the bulk count or the bulk total. Yeah, you can pretty much turn off all of these. And if we save that to, ooh, crap. I clicked the wrong button, but see, it's generating an inventory summary report based on your search criteria in the Pipe Explorer. So let's go ahead and save that to Excel and take a look at it there. Okay. Oh, yep. And there you see everything that was how we had it organized in Pipe Explorer is how it's exported to Excel. So that's a great way to generate reports quickly and very specifically, since you have all those filters that you can apply. Yeah, so the Pipe Explorer. And if you do run one of these reports and kind of want to keep it in mind and save it, once you've run everything and gotten the results you'd like, just hit the favorites button. Name it, and then you can click the favorites button and run that report again. So if we clear, well, let's actually come back into it. Click the favorites, select the one you created, and it's going to run that search based on the search criteria that you saved to that favorites. And that's really cool. I think it's a very underutilized feature of our software. I kind of wish the favorites button was a little bit bigger, but that allows you to save these. If you're always having to search for something over and over again, just save it, and you can do it in the click of 2 buttons. And you don't have to keep track of the search criteria, and you eliminate potential user error, right? So if someone forgets to put a date range filter or a category filter, they don't have to. It's all in. Yeah, Jonathan says he's going to be using that in the future. Good. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. To let you guys know, we do offer custom reports. If you guys want to see a report in the manager here under a specific category, or you want to see one of our reports, the same information that one of our reports offers, but formatted a little bit differently, change columns around, what have you, we can do that for you. I think the going rate right now is $250 an hour, and it doesn't take long to produce these. So if your company has a need for a specific report, you can just email our support staff with a request for it, and I will actually we'll send you a link to the format for those requests, so you know exactly what information we need. So if you guys have any requests for those types of reports, you can send that to support@archondata.com, and we'd be happy to help you with that. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and just stop the recording here, and I'll answer any questions that you might have. So that's it, guys. Thanks you all for attending. I'll unmute everybody just so you guys don't have to type everything out, but I'll stay on here for answer any questions. Thanks, guys.